Hi, it's Simon, and I'm here again with day 2 of Simon Says Shift, Unlock Your Future Week. Today, you're going to hear an incredible testimonial from someone who's implemented the Release Your Brilliance principles, and they have experienced phenomenal results, both in their career and both in their personal finances. And I believe they will show you how you can do the same. So get ready to listen and to learn how to unlock your future.
I think that I've come to realize in life that it's not just about the things that we have that bring the value in who we are. If we continue to invest in the greatest treasure and the greatest gift is the things within us, then we'll continue to release our brilliance. We'll continue to release finances in our life. We'll continue to be able to have purpose and destiny. And so Simon is a giver of hope. He is somebody that brings forth courage and inspiration. Even if you're at your last straw, at your wit's end, he has the ability to be able to pull out that little bit and extract that brilliance to give you that glimmer of hope to keep going and to know that the best is yet to come. Even if your account it says 0, the balance says 0, look at that as a starting point, because sometimes when you hit the bottom, you realize this is it, it's just the bottom. You know that you have nowhere to go but up. So Simon has the ability to be able to take you and bring you forward.
It's not just about making money. It's also just, again, how you're living. It's your peace. If you don't have peace, it's time to shift so you can have more peace in your life. If you're not full of joy every day when you wake up, shift and do something that causes you to have joy. If you're not doing what you know you've been purposed to do, what you were created, everybody has a purpose and a plan for their life. And so many of us find ourselves just settling for what we've been dealt. Oh, the saying, I'm just working with the cards I've been dealt. And that's not, we can cause a change in our life by a decision, by choice. And so many people are just so used to having other people make the decisions and the choices for them. And now Simon wants to empower them to recognize who they are, first of all, but also to let them know that they have the ability, the power to make those changes in their life, to make those decisions. Not be concerned about what other people say or think, but really to look deep within themselves and say, you know what, now is the time. If not now, then when? If not me, then who?
One of the greatest products that I found by Simon was, of course, Release Your Brilliance. And as you can see, I definitely used my copy. I've got it post-it noted. And if you flip through the inside, you'll see several lines highlighted and underlined. There's just a lot of great information on there. When I first got the book, I read it through. Single sitting one night. I should have been asleep, but I read it straight through because it was just so full of information. And then I realized that, I need to go back slowly and take it chunk by chunk. It was a lot of wonderful, wonderful tools to use. And that's what I did. I sat with my laptop and I would do a chapter each night, answering, he would, at the end of each chapter, he has a little self-evaluation and exercises. And I did them. I did every one of them, did it on my laptop so I could save it for, print it out, save it forever. And, that is probably one of the best things about Simon is his books are just not sit there and read and, and now that's, you'll get it. It's you're doing something. You have to be proactive because you're the one. You are the only one that can change your life. And let's get started by doing some of the exercises and formalizing and writing down what this book can do for you. And so this is why I love this book so much.
Second, I have another Power Pack video that I want you to enjoy called Historically, When Has Brilliance Been Released? If you think about it, back in 1909, Henry Ford introduced the Model T. And then if you fast forward in 1929, the country went through the Great Depression, but even during that time, insulin was discovered. In 1940s, we experienced the Pearl Harbor, the Holocaust, World War II, but it was also during that time that a young lady in New York City rented out a ballroom in the Waldorf Astoria, and she sold it out, and she handed out all of her products, and today her product is still being sold all over the world, and her name is Estee Lauder. So even in the midst of what was seemingly trying times, it was also an opportunity for people to shift and find out how they could release their brilliance. So I want you to listen intently to what I'm about to share with you in this video. With everything that's going on in our world, in our country, can we look back historically and put our arms around when has brilliance been released? Remember, I said brilliance is insight, potential, and genius. And I'm just kind of giving you this as just a quick paintbrush of just some thoughts around brilliance, and then I want to land the plane and give you some practical things to think about. 100 years ago, what's interesting when we look back in history, Henry Ford introduced the Model T. What's interesting about that time is when it was introduced, it was one of the best things that created an innovation 100 years ago. If we were to fast forward just a little bit, in 1929, as you know, the stock market crashed, but what was interesting is that insulin was discovered for diabetics. So, though it was seemingly the worst of times, someone had the ingenuity to say, I'm going to find a way to release my brilliance. In the 1930s, the United States is experiencing a lot coming out of the stock market crash in 1929, and on May 1st, 1931, the Empire State Building opens in New York City. So though the country is experiencing a lot of things, there is someone still dreaming and envisioning a better future. Why is that important? The greatest tragedy in life is not blindness. The greatest tragedy in life is to have sight but no vision. In the 1940s, as you know, if you think about history, Pearl Harbor, the Holocaust, World War II. But what was interesting, there was a young lady in New York City who was working for her uncle at the time, who was a chemist. And the more and more she began to work with her uncle, she began to get a glimpse of what she could create in her future. And almost 60 years later, we're still talking about Estee Lauder, who went to the Waldorf Astoria back in the 1940s, began to give her products away, and created word-of-mouth buzz because of giving them away. In the 1950s, World War II has ended. Now we are realizing that we are experiencing the first eye of information. The first eye of information is now in every home. What was the first eye? The television. Because it's now engaging people in what's possible through a visual picture. In the 1960s, we're very familiar with the civil rights movement that happened during that time. But if you will really look back, during that time, John F. Kennedy said in the beginning of the 60s that by the end of the decade, we will put a man on the moon. And sure enough, in 1969, that very thing happened. Brilliance was being released in every decade because someone said, I'm going to get up off my blessed assurance and I'm going to make something happen, and I'm not going to wait for somebody to do something for me. Keep in mind, people who implement my principles of brilliance come from all walks of life. They can be a CEO, they can be a school bus driver, they can be a human resource worker, they can be a nurse. The similarity that all of them possess is that they want to shift from neutral into drive. So get ready, mark your calendars for Monday, November the 16th. I am going to teach you how to shift, and I'm going to go deeper and introduce Vuja Day, which will specifically walk you through how to see everything that everybody else sees, but to understand it differently. And when you shift, you will never ever want to be a neutral again.